The city awakens as someone shouts from the balcony, the date quietly marking a new day. Bright-eyed and eager, a girl urges Hikari to look at something with excitement. A sleepy character sits up, murmuring uncertainly in hazy morning light. Two girls share a soft greeting as Sana wakes, invited to witness something special. Clad in a playful raincoat, a girl stands triumphant, having discovered it near a wet futon. A boy glances back thoughtfully, wondering whose significant day it must be. Sana leaps onto the bed shouting, "Birthday!" She and her sibling tumble onto the covers with laughter. The family enjoys cake at the table, smiles warm and happy. A gentle conversation hopes for sunny weather the next day. Sana beams with excitement, thrilled for rain and her special moment. Her brother, amused, invites her to go outside and play. A silent, uncertain glance meets the question, "You don't wanna?" as the weight of decisions hangs quietly between them. He sits alone by the door, quietly asking where she's gone as someone calls for Sana to join them. A small toy sits on the desk with a gentle ping, echoing in the stillness of the room. Outdoors, two figures sing about rain clouds and old memories as they march forward with cheerful energy. Walking past the apartments, a child and their companion are dwarfed by the silent cityscape. She beams in her raincoat, reminding her brother to watch the video when they return. Surprised, he quietly repeats the word video, uncertain of what awaits. She glances sideways, revealing the video lives on Obasan's phone. The world blurs into motion as rain begins to fall, and her name is called out. Joy explodes as she leaps into puddles, shouting gleefully about the pouring rain. Chasing after, he shouts for Sana to wait up as the downpour intensifies. A crowded train car bustles with apologies as passengers squeeze past each other. Outside the station, the morning rush unfolds, June 16th, 8:14 a.m. A desperate voice calls out to Sana, rain pouring as she looks up toward the source. She stands alone in the downpour, searching the empty street for her angel. High above, the city fades into a whirlwind of wind as birds scatter and the world blurs. A sea of halos glows atop the crowd, serene yet otherworldly amid the storm's chaos. Grasping for hope, someone reaches out and pleads for Sana to take their hand. In a cosmic flash, a dazzling light streaks across the darkened sky. A girl is struck in the chest, eyes wide with shock. A young boy's arm stretches out in terror, falling through darkness. His body tumbles downward, sound and motion blurring together. A hand frantically scratches across water, desperate to reach the surface. 5 years pass in an instant, an unyielding promise carried forward. The city's calm hides tangled memories, its people moving on as fate quietly restarts. A burst of speed propels someone down an empty street, urgent voices echoing ahead. Children pedal in the schoolyard, chatting about borrowing hand cream as the day unfolds. He observes, fingers spread, as she assesses his hands with a critical gaze. They laugh together, her touch lingering as she admires how soft his skin feels. Playful banter interrupts, her teasing bringing lightness to their quiet nook. A fantastical figure, hunched and winged, materializes between them in surreal contrast. A sinister figure cracks a wicked grin as two teens recoil in fear. They scramble away from danger, dashing madly as terror takes hold. The monster's eye focuses, intent and unblinking, as their escape falters. With a guttural shout, the beast lunges, transforming the chase into chaos. A blinding explosion engulfs the street, its force scattering everything in its path. The teens are thrown through the air, battered by the blast's fury. Two figures struggle on the ground, haunted by the memory of a sphere that appeared years ago. A towering angel pins someone down, the word angel echoing as pain fills the scene. In a cluttered control room, news crackles about Akashi on site while panic erupts nearby. A lone agent approaches his target, angel and victim framed in tense confrontation. A monstrous face mocks the agent's presence, the moment thick with sinister laughter. Expression hardening, the agent mutters about a dud, lost in thoughts of failed communication. Distorted laughter twists across a crazed face as the nightmare deepens. A monstrous form towers above rooftops, its arrival marked by an eruption of chaos. The world spins as survivors face a churning vortex of storm and destruction. In the midst of the swirling maelstrom, an angelic figure hovers with mocking triumph. The villain's cruel grin never fades as he taunts. Laughable, isn't it? A dizzying overhead view reveals the villains circling their prey, the city lost in madness. Hikari Akashi stares coldly, a blade at his side as he declares weakness. A rooftop scene unfolds, marked by scars and evidence from earlier encounters. Agents huddle around a map in strategy, analyzing the strange marks left behind. 3 figures sit together under blankets, faces worn from recent turmoil. An emblem flashes, Black Umbrella Covenant, the Hunter's secret alliance revealed. Questions linger as a lone child stands on the rooftop, wondering about power and destiny. Monitors flicker as officials discuss failed weaponry against an unknown force. 5 years ago, armored troops faced angels, their weapons useless against the hovering threat. Bodies litter the shimmering ground, helpless beneath the angels' power and their relentless foe. A lone investigator walks away, pondering the true name of the mysterious ability. A black car screeches to a stop, the investigator already anticipating the next encounter. He stands beside the open car, raising a thumb in an ironic reverse hitchhike greeting. A proud supervisor congratulates Akashishir for a job well done. Silent footsteps and a toy car highlight the tension as someone enters. A car speeds across the city, carrying a man deep in conflicted thought. Inside, the passenger admits he never expected to be called on this case. Momo Seimo, the driver, laments missing out on chauffeur duty as their conversation reveals larger mysteries. A figurine proclaims the latest hit anime, while commentary on duty and distraction hovers between worlds. A young girl perches on the edge of a sofa, guessing at an adult's imminent promotion. He admits he's only been with the team for a year, uncertain about his reputation. They tease him for his record number of hunts, a subtle boast buried in camaraderie. A glossy car speeds along, the stakes for veteran hunters rising with every mile. Clutching a sword, someone mutters about shifting circumstances and unfinished business. An ominous question hangs, are there any updates? As the blade flashes in the dim light. A tense silence hangs in the car as the driver apologizes for having no new results. His companion reluctantly voices his doubts, forcing a quiet resignation. Wide-eyed and anxious, a young man confesses to checking all the reports, but still finds nothing. Detailed text flashes on screen, recounting the angelic attack at 8:24 a.m. on June 16th. 2 figures discuss the impossibility of what was seen, shaky yet determined to understand. A haunted gaze follows a vision of monstrous eyes, the truth lingering just beyond reach. It was real. A man gazes pensively out the car window, lost in thought as the city blurs past. The driver answers, confirming 40 hints, though uncertainty lingers over the question. A quick click of the seatbelt signals that something is amiss, tension rising. Their conversation continues as the truth about the hints slowly emerges. An awkward silence falls in the car, one answering, no, as the other waits for more. Suddenly, an angelic figure bursts onto the scene, unleashing chaos before their stunned eyes. He states the answer is 42, his gaze sharpened by purpose. A deranged villain smirks, bloodied and battered, greeting them with twisted humor. Combat explodes. One is kicked brutally, pain echoed by the chorus of amazed onlookers. Cars screech as a fight spills into the street, chaos blocking the road. From above, the victor taunts about rudeness, arms wide over the highway carnage. Smiling darkly, the villain insists that true greetings are delivered hand to hand. He coldly asks if the fallen was a friend as his companion spirals from the earlier fight. Tension mounts outside as he's warned not to lump himself in with those angels. A monstrous angel boasts of sending someone to grab their tasty-looking family. Standing before a car, an agent is called out for his mischief, caught between ally and adversary. A weathered hunter lectures him about the consequences of interfering in someone else's miracle. Expression unreadable, he's told to be silent and use his hands. Actions speak louder than words. A haloed figure assures his captors with forced humor, feigning calm amid crisis. Suddenly, a massive blow shatters the ground as an angel insists his power was just awakening. Cracks spread in the concrete, the impact leaving deep scars where his body fell. Akashishir's name is called out urgently, his presence needed in the chaos. Wings unfurl with envy. The villain muses on the strange beauty found in destruction. He muses aloud that, for humans, their only worth lies in the power they possess. He boasts about human hands being a delicacy, savoring the idea that no other creature cherishes them like people do. The aftermath of battle reveals deep fissures in the ground as everyone recoils from the destructive power unleashed. The villain's gaze fixes coldly on his adversary, while the crowd looks on, trembling at what might come next. Suddenly, countless hands reach out, desperate to seize the lone figure standing at the center of the chaos. He bursts forward with a surge of energy, slicing through the oncoming threat and escaping the grasp of the frenzied mob. A single winged foe departs, silent and alone, leaving unanswered questions lingering in the air. A winged adversary glides down from above, gaze icy and voice void of remorse, the aftermath of battle etched on his face. With calculated precision, the hero aims a strange barrel toward him, muscles tensed for whatever may come next. The conflict explodes once more as the angel reels in agony, his composure shattered and desperation flooding his features. In the dim light, the swordsman stands poised, his silhouette cast against a trembling foe, both haunted and resolute. Brief words are exchanged beneath the trees, the memories of pain and warning tangled between enemies and reluctant allies. On a lonely bridge under moonlight, someone sits and whispers, "Okay," the quiet echo marking the end of the night. A haloed figure leaps from the railing, plunging headlong into the dark water below as the night holds its breath. The surface erupts with a violent splash, ripples racing outward across the silent river. A companion watches in horror, realization striking too late that it's all been a cunning trap. High above the city, the swordsman calculates every move as his opponent rushes to follow, the urban canyon lending him strength. Yet as the hunter catches his breath, a smile tugs at his lips. He knows that unlike the supernatural, mere survival in these streets is a different game entirely. Sinking deeper, the angel's form vanishes into the watery gloom, leaving friends and foes alike to wonder if angels can truly drown. The hero stares upward, eyes weary and haunted, as unseen hands begin their silent approach. Countless ghostly hands reach from the darkness, eager to drag him down as hopelessness begins to cloud his resolve. He flees through the shadows, hands grasping at his heels, but his will remains unbroken, defying their relentless pull. A voice mocks from above, taunting him for his inability to escape the grasp of his haunted memories. The villain sneers, declaring his dominion over the place, certain that the terrain bends to his advantage and his rules. With a chilling roar, a monstrous beast emerges from the depths, ready to swallow the hero whole within his own twisted domain. A monstrous foe snarls die. As power surges through his twisted face, the air thick with impending violence. Bathed in blinding light, the hunter stands at the epicenter, every detail blurred by the raw force of his unleashed instinct. His eyes narrow with determination, the surrounding chaos swirling as a signature skill takes hold. Text explodes, hunter instinct unleashed, heralding the shift from fear to ferocity as allies and enemies watch in awe. Ripples tear through the battlefield as a stunned villain hangs his head, unable to withstand the overwhelming energy. Finally, at the center of a fiery vortex, the hunter stands alone, blade ready and resolve unwavering against the darkness. The villain sneers, declaring they're underwater just before unleashing a devastating attack that cuts through the darkness. With relentless force, a powerful blast hurls an angel skyward, both figures silhouetted by the blinding eruption. A monumental explosion tears through the cityscape, sending tremors across the water and shattering the river's calm. Rain pours along the bridge as the witness stands frozen, the violence reflected in his wide eyes and trembling posture. In stunned awe, he can only whisper about god-tier plot twists, the world around him transformed by chaos. A blazing inferno erupts at the heart of the destruction, swirling upward as rage and disbelief echo in its roar. A shadowy figure emerges from blazing light, arms outstretched as chaos ripples behind him across the scorched earth. People gather on the bridge, transfixed by the inferno raging below as the whole river seems to catch fire. A worried witness stares at his phone, the screen illuminating his face with the shocking news. Why is the river on fire? Laughter erupts as one man mocks the other's ignorance, incredulous that he hasn't heard the story everyone knows. Their conversation continues in disbelief, one asking, "Know what?" while the implications of the disaster unfold in hushed tones. The older hunter gestures to a long lineage, explaining that since the dawn of humanity, their kind has always hunted monsters. That is simply what they do. A solitary silhouette glows with energy, the primal urge to hunt burning within as the darkness begins to swirl. Those urges don't look the same for everyone. Some master water, some can challenge mountains, others bring rain to deserts as they stride forward. He addresses his friend with somber finality, ready as the shadows of fate coil around them. A pillar of power erupts behind the swordsman, the drive within him raging to push past the boundaries of ordinary human ambition. Eyes hollow and pleading, the villain's face is etched with misery, begging for release as the forces of destiny converge. With quiet resolve, the swordsman faces his foe's last request, the air thick with the weight of mercy, regret, and unspoken understanding. He broaches the old mystery, asking about what truly happened 5 years ago as shadows linger over his expression. Records recount the infamous morning on June 16th, when 4 angels attacked Tokyo, but an elder agent hints at secrets behind the official report. Haunted by that morning, he reveals he saw something no one else could, its strange visage burned in his memory. He insists there was no mistake, trembling as that vision replays endlessly in his thoughts. As storm clouds swirl above the city, his mind reaches back to that fateful moment, searching for truth beneath the chaos. At last, the revelation comes. In the midst of the battle, there appeared a 5th angel, breaking every rule and expectation. A tired figure admits there's only one thing left, hinting at a secret known by only a few survivors. The monstrous antagonist face twists with confusion, unable to grasp what his foe is truly planning. With the city looming behind him, the hunter muses that the adversary was another dud and begins to walk away, sword held loosely in hand. An urgent plea breaks the air as the villain suddenly understands, begging the hunter to hold on and reconsider. The monstrous face, cracked with fear, stares at the glowing weapon and mutters, "Don't, not that flame." Desperation takes over. The villain reaches as the hunter raises his sword, and with a final, trembling cry, pleads to stop what's coming. A lone figure stands enveloped in a stark white aura, the aftershocks of battle still humming beneath his skin as he contemplates what's been lost. He walks between roaring waves of fire, every step forward a defiance against the forces that tried to drown his resolve. Shadowed and silent, the hunter faces his accusers, calmly declaring that those before him are the ones who started this inferno. Amid the silence, a gentle voice urges Hikari awake, sunlight washing softly over faces filled with concern and relief. A familiar room comes into focus, Hikari stirring from a dream of chaos as the world outside his bed feels impossibly far away. Loved ones gather by his side, their voices anxious but tender, as the realization dawns that the battle's aftermath is only the beginning. Sunlight pours into the hospital room as Hikari, still recovering in bed, is greeted with concerned voices. Family and friends gather around, one quietly confessing their wish for his speedy recovery while the hospital exterior looms in the background. A younger sibling, wringing hands in worry, asks if Hikari is all right, and if somehow this ordeal is their fault. Hikari's eyes glaze with the haze of trauma, memories flickering behind his tired gaze as reality struggles to settle back into place. A soft word of encouragement arrives, urging him to rest and take all the time he needs before facing the pain again. For a fleeting moment, he musters a smile, reassuring everyone with a weak, "I'm all good," even as the weight of the past lingers in the air. A tiny voice promises not to cry, her hand held high in a determined fist as she insists she'll bring back proof of her courage. A nurse's laughter echoes warmly through the hallway while Hikari's friends linger outside the room, gathering the nerve to visit. Memories of rain and desperate hope flicker as a soft apology is whispered, a longing for just another second together before letting go. Someone stands before the family with comforting seriousness, reassuring all that the girl is her usual self, unchanged by trauma. The words ring out, "Everything is okay," yet carry both relief and the quiet ache of things left unspoken in the aftermath. The day unfolds gently as siblings trade reminders, a brother's shaky gratitude reinforcing the chance to start again and recover the lost light. A young girl, her eyes sparkling with nervous hope, answers softly that the video is saved on Obasan's phone. Hikari, uncertain but needing solace, lifts the phone in trembling hands, seeking connection through the screen. He hesitates, thumb hovering over the play button before tapping, the air thick with anxious expectation. "Ah, it started," someone murmurs beside him as the phone flickers to life, the past coming alive with the tap. Joyful and bright, the video shows his sister beaming in her animal hoodie, excitedly announcing her 6th birthday and hoping to surprise her oni. A close-up of sparkling eyes and a playful grin fills the frame. She promises to catch up to Hikari soon, her child's voice echoing across time and memory. Sana clutches her phone, eyes glistening with tears, as she tries to thank everyone for their kindness, but confesses that she can't quite express everything she feels. Her brother sits quietly at the table, burdened by the events, while someone reassures him that they'll walk to school together as always. Hallways are filled with echoes of the past, a cherished backpack, the warmth of gifts received before the world changed, reminding each step that normalcy can be gentle and fragile. Barefoot steps wander toward the sound of rain, the gesture signaling both vulnerability and the hope that moving forward might be possible. With every stride down the corridor, cherished memories surface, games, family dinners, and laughter that once felt endless. But above all, what's missed most is simply being with loved ones. Out in the rain, Sana remembers the comforting rituals, the stories, singing in storms, and dancing without care. And as she turns toward the door, someone gently calls her name and asks, "You coming, Sana?" A young girl sits on the ground, clutching a stuffed animal as she thanks her brother for his kindness, trying to believe everything will be okay despite the nothingness that surrounds her. In the pouring rain, two figures face each other, one wreathed in supernatural fire, the other desperate for connection, until a burst of courage shatters the silence and a heartfelt "I love you" bridges the distance between them. Hands aflame, the boy stares at his powers in shock and confusion, torn between fear of his own abilities and longing for acceptance as water and fire mix above trembling fingers. A small child stares upward, words dying on her lips as she seeks comfort from the looming figure beside her, lost in thoughts she can't quite express. An umbrella opens above her, and the rain slackens as someone gently warns she'll catch cold, offering brief shelter against the relentless storm outside and within. A silent tear traces the boy's cheek as he gazes forward, caught between gratitude and sorrow, the storm's echo mirrored in the loneliness behind his eyes. Footsteps echo on polished floors as the hunters are briefed. Any angel they encounter must be sent to the proper confinement department. Two men in suits discuss the grim task ahead, pondering whether collecting the angels' corpses is even necessary as they study charts detailing each subject's quirks. The headquarters of the Black Umbrella Covenant looms, imposing and cold, as its Tokyo branch orchestrates a campaign to pluck these new threats from the city's heart. Hikari and his partner stride through bright corridors, their isolation underlined by the knowledge that only they, the hunters, can now face these enemies. Elsewhere, citizens gather in private, recounting how angels steal into sleeping minds. If the hunters vanish, humanity is helpless before them. A worried friend urges the group to hurry, warning that the angels' rampage is not over. Determination hardens as they vow to contain this mounting threat by any means necessary. A figure launches upward, sword arcing in hand, striking an airborne foe with desperate precision as sparks fly around their forms. Mid-fall, a powerful kick sends an opponent barreling off the rooftop as the cityscape spins crazily in the background. In the aftermath, an angelic entity looms, faceless and serene, proclaiming themselves as the bringers of the next existence as a chilling wind blows. On the ground, civilians and hunters scatter, panic flaring when another angel appears, causing weapons to clatter and shouts to echo in the chaos. Steel clashes with phantom flesh as a violent blow lands, the hero's grim resolve battling against the angel's otherworldly disguise. Close up, the angel's hand reaches forward, halos and wings flickering subtly, while a cold, tired gaze from the hunter studies every move, recognizing the danger is unlike any before. The hunter pivots, slicing downward in a single, fluid motion to bring a second foe to their knees, dust swirling between their silhouettes. Blades blur, a double panel of split action. One panel with the hero in shadow, the next sparking with the force of impact, each moment stretched by adrenaline and fear. A monstrous foot sweeps the battlefield, sending debris and hope alike flying as a new challenger steps into the deadly game. The angel floats high above the street, rain blurring their form, as the hunter stands ready below and time itself seems to stall. In a brief lull, the narrative reminds us that angels have always hidden their wings and halos among humanity, but this one radiates a presence that cannot be masked. The hunter meets the angel's mysterious gaze with haunted eyes, silently acknowledging just how twisted and unearthly this adversary truly is. The hunter dashes onto the rooftop, tension in his posture as someone warns that the weapon just dropped is a clock, not a regular threat. Lying in bed, a heavy-set observer marvels to himself, realizing Akashi's skill lies in reading rapid shifts and following up with terrifying speed. With a sharp focus, Akashi tracks every movement, thinking he reads 2, no 3, as the action spirals around him. He launches into a furious assault, anticipating his opponent's next 3 moves, each step keeping him a step ahead in the deadly dance. A blade slices the air, intercepted by a desperate block that sends the defender crashing against the rooftop's edge, both caught in the storm's violence. In a blur of movement, Akashi's sword narrowly misses, the blow so precise it leaves both the crowd and his foe reeling in disbelief. An opponent's weapon clatters to the ground, tossed aside by Akashi's relentless offense, while a crowd below erupts in chaotic shouting. Spectators stare, sweat pouring, as Akashi swings again, sending his challenger flying. Yet his mind races for another solution as conditions worsen. Water splashes across the floor as the duel drags on, both combatants push to their limits, matching blade for blade under relentless rain. A heavy-set man screams, "It's alive!" As the weapon shudders and moves on its own, the hunters barely containing their panic. A panoramic shot catches both warriors in silhouette, blades drawn and eyes locked, the tension of their rivalry mirrored in every twitch and feint. Akashi stands ready, sword poised, muttering, "That's bad news," his heart pounding as he prepares for whatever living horror will attack next. A sword flashes as the figure leaps, narrowly dodging a deadly attack, while rain whips around them in streaks of silver. A moment later, the assailant pivots, launching a brutal kick that hurls the defender backward with bone-rattling force. As the combatants recover, the crowd shouts in panic, and a new face appears among them, mask blank. An angel declares, "We grant you peace." Akashi ducks and sprints as weapons fly, his every move mirroring the chaos erupting across the rooftop. A daring parry turns into a head-on clash. Akashi's blade schemes past an outreached hand, barely missing as sweat beads his brow. One attacker flails and slips, splashing across the rain-drenched tiles, the rooftop transformed into a slippery battleground. Desperation spikes. A would-be combatant charges, but is swiftly intercepted by Akashi's relentless blade, each lunge measured and cold. A close-up reveals Akashi's unwavering stare, reading feints and intentions too, even 3 beats ahead, allowing him to stay 1 step in front. The air grows tense as a shocked onlooker gasps at Akashi's calculating pace, awed by the precision and power he brings to every strike. With a final slice, Akashi forces his opponent to retreat, weapon clattering onto the ground, signaling a victory hard-fought but uncertain. Yet amid the shouting, a blade rises from the slick floor, possessed by an uncanny life, threatening to change the momentum in an instant. In the downpour, Akashi tenses once more, storm and steel converging, as he prepares for whatever hellish miracle the next assault might bring. With practiced resolve, a hand clutches the hilt and readies for the next move, inner thoughts echoing, "All right then." A shadowed face weighs the decision, quietly admitting that the 5th angel can be left for later while pressing forward with what truly matters now. Shock and disbelief widen tired eyes as a single word, "What?" escapes from trembling lips, fear and wonder knotted together. In the shadowed city, one hunter calls another to a private rooftop, swearing that some truths can only be uncovered away from prying eyes. A moment of tense interrogation spells out the stakes. "Tell me what you know about the 5th angel," whispers overlap with, "Hey, calm down, you found it?" At dawn, a lone silhouette climbs the Covenant's steps, the building's vast emptiness emphasizing the importance of the moment. A direct question hangs in the still air. "Be but 5 years ago, the first one on the scene. Was you, wasn't it?" A single, silent tear falls as he admits that even the records from back then mention only 4 angel corpses, not the truth he witnessed. Reflecting, a hunter quietly considers that he might share the story, but the pain behind his eyes hints at stains left by memory. Turning away, the swordsman shakes his head. "That isn't something you share in a campfire. The secrets are heavy, and words cannot do justice to the horrors endured." He thinks back on the evidence. More than facts, it was the look in one person's eyes, the raw conviction, which made him want to believe. Bitterness returns in a soft, fatalistic whisper. "That's all there is to it. For all the fighting, the truth rests in what is left unsaid." A supervisor urges Hikari to hurry and present the lead he's uncovered. tension written across their faces as they stride through the facility's imposing entrance. Glaring up at an ominous security orb, Hikari steels his nerves, inwardly confirming that he's ready for whatever comes next. Anxiety cuts through the silence as Hikari admits there's something he needs to share, uncertainty shadowing his determined expression. Two agents work quietly in a camera-filled surveillance room, their backs turned to the world as they monitor screens filled with flickering threats. A girl in restraints, posture defiant, declares from the shadows that there's only one person she's waiting to meet, her eyes locked on an unseen visitor. Bright letters introduce the next chapter, the Bloodwing Hunters' headquarters, while officials whisper that things changed forever after that day. Under endless white corridors and fluorescent lights, they pass between warning signs and endless hallways, footsteps echoing a mixture of resolve and dread. A suited figure nervously asks Hikari to point out the person they're supposed to meet, the team's hope for answers hanging by a thread. Plans stall in a moment of levity as a colleague briefly reminds Hikari to savor his youth, a rare smile flickering on his face before the wait returns. The next days bring news that across Tokyo, angels are being hunted and killed by unknown enemies, every incident raising more questions than answers. Memory and trauma mingle as survivors recount the violence endured, wings torn away and innocence ripped off, drawing a stark line between before and after. Hikari ponders the deeper meaning of it all, wondering if the one behind these attacks is an outsider, or if something even more terrifying is already at work here. Rain pours as the protagonist hesitates in a hospital corridor, his heart heavy with painful memories and the weight of a recent revelation. A cold, sterile room feels suffocating as he listens to a senior discuss what the future holds, hinting that a single truth might be buried somewhere inside. Outside the office, tense colleagues replay recent events, questioning whether the anomaly that stood out was truly an angel at all. He recalls the distinct mark of a fifth angel, a halo shaped more like a crown than those he's battled before, its image burned into his mind. With haunted eyes, he admits he has never seen anything like it, the confession fracturing his sense of certainty. Shadows stretch across a modern workspace, where another agent remarks that all halos are shaped the same, casting doubt on the protagonist's memory. The protagonist almost agrees, but admits, or so I thought, as unease bleeds into the sterile light filtering through an office window. A flashback erupts, showing the angelic girl dangling from a rafter, her halo unmistakably crowned and her aura unsettling the order of the world. Onlookers gasp as she swings above their heads, the threat of her presence felt as deeply as any physical wound. Up close, the protagonist's face twists with doubt and awe, the scene flickering between memory and reality as he faces his own recollection. The memory scrolls past, but the protagonist mutters, "Don't stop me." Beneath his breath, he must push forward, no matter the cost. Strengthening his resolve, he reminds a friend that every risk taken is for their sake, the past and present entwined in grief and unspoken hope. He points with dread. That right there, the fifth thong. As the realization dawns, eyes wide with terror and shock. The masked woman is revealed, responsible for the mysterious string of angel hunts that have haunted the city's darkest corners. A tense standoff unfolds. She faces the hunters, unflinching as they demand to know why she started the chaos, her stony silence belying any regret. Another hunter steps onto the scene, taunting that he even brought a pile of halos and wings as souvenirs, the corridor littered with grim trophies. A close-up on determined eyes, haunted by Sana's memory, he vows to get revenge, unable to forgive the thing that killed her. Elsewhere, enemies confer. One coolly offers to remove their opponent's head for the higher-ups, letting fate decide who falls next as tension fills the room. Among scattered bodies, someone demands to know whose side the masked hunter is truly on, only to receive the cryptic reply. Depends who's a-skinned. Surrounded by halo shards and the remnants of battle, the masked hunter glances down at a body, thinking only the halo matters now in this struggle for survival. An elder commands, "Hey, destroy the key to what you're after, or use it," demanding a decision that will alter the fate of the hunt forever. In a silent close-up, a sword is unsheathed, the choice hanging in the air as someone says, "Your call." Responsibility and vengeance now joined in the hunter's hands. Fingers tighten on the hilt and regret flickers across his face. A silent threat is exchanged as both hunter and prey weigh what's been lost. Suddenly, the violence returns. A flash of motion, a blade arcs, and a scream echoes as the hunter unleashes his full resolve, determined to end the cycle at last. A single-minded swing slashes through the darkness, Akashi's blade arcing in a relentless search for closure as rain streaks his hair and hope. Steel meets steel and then gives way. With a crash, the rival's weapon clatters broken to the pavement, signaling the end of the duel's deadly rhythm. A hush falls between them, and the woman, her halo now cracked and dull, lowers her gaze in resignation as she faces the consequence of her own power. The observers trade anxious glances, unsure if the struggle is truly over, while one wonders aloud whether those immaculate locks are even real. Demanding the truth, a voice cuts through. Is there anyone else with a halo like that? Forcing the broken angel to confront her secrets. She falters, too exhausted to reply, but her pursuer draws closer and insists on an answer, intent on unraveling the mystery beneath her silence. Hearing that name, the others freeze. This is the anomaly everyone's been chasing, all while she struggles to keep upright. She tries to will the ordeal over, but the hunter's patience has already worn thin, his grip tightening and voice harsher as he demands, "Get it over with." Across the slick rooftop, a battered officer finally breathes easy, but suspicion lingers. Who really wore the crown that night? A cold confrontation ensues, two agents circling as they weigh what's to gain or lose, knowing only the key to survival will tip the balance. Akashi's fingers linger on his sword, staring down the choice. What if the true threat hasn't even shown itself yet? At last, the girl's reply is a riddle. "Shut up and answer the question," he demands, but the pain in her eyes says the answer is more complicated than words allow. He stands before the broken figure, demanding in a low voice if someone important to her was ever killed, his words cutting deeper than any blade. She tilts her head, defiant and cold, her lips curling as she warns it's none of their business and tells him to worry about his own kind. Eyes shadowed, he whispers that if he has to, he'll burn this whole world to ashes just to see justice done, a promise etched into the lines of his face. The angel meets his gaze, her expression sharpening to lethal clarity, and asks if that's supposed to frighten her or make him a hero. He mutters that none of it matters anymore. Vengeance and regret have been burned away long before this conversation ever began. Torn by past and present, he asks if she has any last words, a flicker of humanity breaking his battered resolve for just a moment. She gives him no satisfaction, instead snubbing his pain and calling the whole encounter a waste of her time, unimpressed by mortal threats. With deadly force, she lashes out, her power overwhelming. He's forced to block with everything left in him, but each strike feels like it could end him. He lands a counterattack, sending her hurtling backwards, but the victory tastes bitter, overshadowed by everything he's lost along the way. Both warriors stand, rain-soaked and exhausted, knowing the fight is not just about survival, but the haunting weight of the memories that brought them here. Just before the end, she warns that pity will only get him killed, her words echoing as another furious exchange leaves them both bloodied and raw. The rooftop is a grave for old hopes as he realizes, with grim clarity, that all he has left is the need to keep fighting, no matter how broken his heart has become. Winds whip furiously as the rooftop duel explodes, Akashi's blade clashing with unnatural force against his opponent's escape, shattering tile and resolve alike. In a flurry of movement, an ally launches a smoke grenade, the air blurring with thick cover as both friend and foe vanish into obscurity, buying precious time for escape or pursuit. With a shrill freeze, a lawkeeper enters the fray, forcing the combatants to momentarily halt, while bystanders and rivals brace for the next twist in the carnage. A tense standoff unfolds in the gray aftermath, with enemies and allies now indistinguishable behind false faces and shifting loyalties. Akashi's cold gaze falls on the stranger beside him, and the question lingers, is this desperate confrontation the end result of his long arc of vengeance, or a new beginning? He turns to the silent hunter at the edge of the rooftop, asking with a sardonic smile, "You arranged that short meeting just to piss me off," but finds no satisfaction in the banter. As the smog thins, a voice cuts through, "Cut the crap," and Akashi wonders if their fate is truly sealed or another figure is orchestrating from the shadows. They keep their distance, searching for signs of danger, while the city below seems oblivious to the high-stakes battle written in blood and pride. Exchanges become more desperate as enemies shout from across the gap, declaring that whoever's edging closer is going to nail it if they're not careful. Another combatant, barely upright, observes aloud, "He's cutting his own ties, but I guess that benefits the good timing though." weighing the motives as everything unravels. Jets overhead, a thunderous roar punctuating the chaos, as the city's response looms larger and threatens to drown all memory of the rooftop carnage. On the empty roof, Akashi's silhouette is battered but unbowed, his allies nearby, uncertain if the next move will be a final act or just another step toward redemption. The city's tension lingers as two allies watch the silent aftermath of battle, one quietly admitting that with everything gone, no one knows who's going to stop the tantrum now. Akashi closes his eyes on the rooftop, replaying the chaos and fractured memory, and senses the burden of every choice that led here. With a sigh, Akashi surveys the horizon, knowing there must be a solution, yet the world only offers more problems, never peace. A friend leans against a wall, reflecting that the transport headache is his own, but he was surprised to see Akashi get so involved, even though all their emotions are left out on that rooftop. Akashi's blank gaze masks the swirl of thoughts within him, but the unspoken meaning is clear. For an adult, there's always a spare seat for trouble. Others gather nearby, teasing that if there's a perfect substitute, maybe that's where he belongs now, and Akashi just wishes he could look away from the reality. With practiced ease, Akashi brushes off a new assignment, just picking up a deviant's key, nothing more, but the look in his eyes betrays deeper unresolved burdens. The team disperses under city lights, joking that there's no guarantee he'll meet them again once they're off to their next trial, and Akashi tries to mask his regret. Down at the helipad, engines hum and orders echo while Akashi and a partner board a waiting aircraft, neither one willing to break the tense silence. Landing gear slams shut as the blades start up, a heavy roar that threatens to drown out every last word left unsaid between the two hunters. The rider and new guest take their seats, received formally by the old hands, and are told the main event will begin in 2 minutes, whether they're ready or not. At the hangar doors, another agent quietly welcomes Akashi, recognizing in his wary silence the scars of a trial that is far from over, even as the world prepares for whatever comes next. A gruff command breaks the tension. "Hey now, that's pretty disrespectful." As a survivor tries to reassert control over the frayed group dynamics in the post-battle haze. Another hunter watches silently, eyes narrowed, as a new arrival is teased. "Didn't your grandma teach you that stuff before kicking the can for the first time?" The line between camaraderie and threat razor-thin after all that's been lost. Yet the joking turns sincere as someone insists, "Is alive and kicking," with a proud grin, but there's a tremor in the bravado that speaks of wounds not easily healed. One quietly mutters, "My grandma," and stares at the ground, the joke failing to close the gaping distance between the living and the dead. The teammates move on, feigning easy laughter and calling out, "Disrespect gets us killed, you know?" Using banter to mask uncertainty as they reassemble in the parking lot. Engines roar and the landing struts shake as the battered aircraft settles, leaders already shouting 10-minute orders and new protocols for what comes next. Elsewhere on the helicopter, survivors slump in their seats. 10 minutes, they're told, and the weight of everything unsaid fills the cramped interior. Back on the city streets, one hunter gazes out the window, shoulders hunched, while beside him the one person who understands offers a murmured nod of support. High above, the view is from a drone. The hospital's helipad empty now, the last traces of the struggle vanishing beneath a gray city sky. The chopper angles away, fading into cloud, and memories chase after it. Loss, loyalty, and the burden of each promise made and broken on the rooftop. Back at the hospital, someone leans into a corridor's pale light. "Man, running is so weird," he sighs, haunted by both the escape and what it cost him to survive. A silent promise hangs unspoken as the heroes disappear into the world again, their scars sharper than ever, the city ready to forget even as they never can. A relentless sense of urgency fills the air as the transport zooms skyward, its sleek form cutting through the city and signaling that the hunter's journey is far from over. Inside, awkward silence reigns as two agents await their marching orders, one cracking a self-deprecating joke about their predicament while the other sits in stiff, expectant quiet. Their supervisor keeps a hawk's eye on the time, warning that the subject's parole is a privilege, not a right, and any misstep could provoke intervention from above. Dim lights flicker in the transport's corridor, the hum of machinery blending with the rattling nerves of everyone inside as they steel themselves for whatever comes next. Across the aisle, agents exchange loaded glances. It's clear some questions will have to wait, the web of unfinished business and old grudges stretching between seats. Akashi, his profile shadowed by fatigue, reflects on the bittersweet truth that, for once, they still have some time. A brief pause in the long, grinding chase for survival. Elsewhere, one of the rookies recounts the harsh lesson. Trying to speak reason to an angel is futile, their kind too savage and monstrous to bargain with. Yet everyone keeps trying anyway. The mood darkens as someone quietly asks what Akashi is truly after. What vendetta, what solace, only to be met with silence and averted eyes. Tensions boil over as the angel, still chained and proud, launches an insult, mocking their captor and turning confinement into a test of wills. From a seat across the aisle, another captive sneers, goading the hunters with bravado and black humor, as the lines between hunter and hunted blur even more. A new agent enters, ordering everyone to quiet down while issuing a veiled threat. 10 more minutes, and anyone could be their next enemy or ally. As Akashi leans forward, staring at the battered angel, the unspoken question lingers. In a world this cruel and chaotic, who is the real monster? And will the answer ever bring any peace? The demand for silence is sharp and immediate as someone tells everyone to be quiet, the lingering tension settling thickly over the group after so much chaos. In a burst of confusion, one mask-wearing figure blurts out, "Huh," caught off guard by an order that cracks through the anxiety and draws wary stares. Lost in exhaustion, Akashi sits apart with his head bowed, admitting he has waited 5 long years just to follow a lead like this, and the ache in his posture speaks volumes of battles both won and lost. He closes his eyes, the memory of a promise burning in his mind. He will not rest until he can learn who truly killed Sanaa, vowing to ask with his own hands if he must. Nearby, rivals squabble over petty insults, pushing each other's buttons as loyalties fracture, and the team's fragile unity is shaken once again by the sting of old rivalries. A soft-spoken agent quietly surrenders. "Fine, I give up," conceding ground in the face of a tense standoff, her voice barely audible above the fading echoes of the recent fight. Flashbacks swirl. Back then. And Akashi struggles to reconcile the burden of 5 years of searching, knowing that every failure still weighs on his heart. An image of an iron lock, weathered by time and city grime, appears, symbolizing a truth kept hidden, the mystery that's kept both sides chained to the same unresolved tragedy. Suddenly, a new clash erupts, boom. As combatants are hurled through the air, violence briefly overtaking any hope for answers or peace. Fists and swords fly in a tangle of limbs, with one fighter narrowly dodging another's blade as danger ramps up, adrenaline and regret tangling in every movement. Amidst the wreckage, a desperate leap sends both foe and ally into the air, gravity suspended for a second as they struggle for dominance and survival. In the end, 2 figures, perhaps not so different after all, are flung across the busy city street, the world going about its business below, never knowing how close it came to being swallowed by vengeance and memory. High above the city, masked figures soar past skyscrapers, shouting taunts and challenges that echo off glass and steel, daring fate as they launch into the next high-stakes chase. With reckless abandon, one leaps from a rooftop, wind tearing at his coat as a comrade shouts a warning. A single mistake could bring death, but each is too deep into the mission to turn back now. The chase spirals downward through shattered windows and debris-strewn corridors, a desperate escape unfolding as adversaries collide in a tangle of limbs and tangled motives. Wounded but unbowed, Akashi staggers upright inside a polished lobby, limping toward his objective despite a busted leg and the chaos erupting just outside the glass. A moment of confusion strikes as survivors gather in the aftermath, their faces etched with exhaustion and shock, each silently wondering how they made it out alive and who might have been left behind. Through bloodied lips and ragged breaths, an agent tells his teammates that their plane, an office building in the city center, was punished by an angel, the words heavy with both awe and terror. On a rain-slicked street, rival squads skirmish beneath a flickering billboard, exchanging gunfire and desperate plans, determined to claim the upper hand before order collapses entirely. Inside a commandeered vehicle, Akashi and his weary partner take a rare breath, reflecting grimly that more demons walk among them than anyone will ever count, their memories haunted by several of them lost along the way. The lead squad's rookie radios for help. "Boss, please respond," as static crackles on the line, but leadership can offer no comfort in the madness closing in from all sides. A final question rings out. "Where are you going?" As Akashi rallies his battered team to look for the missing girl, the last glimmer of hope pushing them back into the fight despite every wound and doubt. Determination etches itself into every stride as the hunters charge forward once more, their silhouettes framed against so many darkened windows, each one a silent witness to the city's endless cycle of fear and violence. Amidst crumbling towers and howling winds, Akashi silently promises to keep going, to find the ones he's lost and protect what remains, even as the city spins on, oblivious to the battle raging within its shadows. In the subdued quiet after chaos, Akashi turns dismissively from a group of anxious bystanders and explains the danger they're in, emphasizing that their boss wants answers no matter the risk, his resolve never wavering even as the city outside pulses with unknown threats. A close-up on Akashi's face reveals a rare flicker of vulnerability as he admits privately that finding the true perpetrator isn't his top priority, right now. Even if that's what everyone expects, the weight of previous failures etched into his tired gaze. The heated rhythm of the day continues in an argument down the hall. Two new guards are scolded for being late, their confusion and fear underlining how unprepared most people are for the reality Akashi faces daily. A brief, jarring moment of slapstick violence erupts as someone is smacked over the head to restore order, the comic relief undercut by the seriousness of life and death outside the walls. Elsewhere, older agents murmur that Akashi has wandered off again, busy chasing his own justice instead of focusing on the mission, and it's clear that the philosophical divide among hunters is deepening as tempers fray. A candid confession flows from another agent who admits Akashi is a lost cause. Yet there's no malice, just a silent hope that even someone at rock bottom can find clarity again. Cut to Akashi and a kindred spirit seated on a hospital bed, one offering support. "Let me carry your pain," while another offers a hand up, the gesture a small but vital lifeline for someone who's nearly given up all hope. Nearby, the squad's new leader grabs two rookies and announces that, despite doubts and scars, there's strength in numbers. "Join my squad." A call for unity in a time when bonds are all that stand between survival and oblivion. Memories resurface of a mentor who once taught that to follow is to choose a path, showing how every battle and every rescue ties into the unspoken lineage each hunter inherits. A handshake, one that's both a promise and a test, bridges the gap between past and future, as intention and trust must be rebuilt from the ground up if they're to continue fighting side by side. The harsh fluorescent light reveals an agent's face, half hope and half caution. "It's what you need too, maybe that kind of light," he says, hinting at a fragile optimism that things can still change for the better. Finally, Akashi and his old rival trade one last, weary look over battle reports and scattered files, each knowing that though the world may never acknowledge their struggle, every day spent searching for the truth brings them a little closer, if not to victory, then at least to understanding. A harsh cry of protest echoes down the hallway as one agent spins, face twisted with exasperation, and declares, "I don't have time to deal with you," his voice cutting through the uneasy laughter of a battered group of survivors on the floor. Through a shattered doorway, another agent barks at their exhausted companions. Any excuse for weakness or disloyalty brings a swift retort, underlining the thin ice on which everyone is forced to skate in these fractured alliances. In a cramped apartment, a lone survivor sits cross-legged on the floor, nerves visibly frayed as they hear the repeated boom of distant explosions outside and try to focus on a newspaper headline warning that life is 3/3 work. The girl in the next room frowns over her tablet, numb to the horror as she reads aloud the philosophy that the whole concept of companies can freaking die, just before another blast rattles her windows and plunges her further into resignation. Suddenly, a transport jet roars overhead, sending loose papers flying and casting the world into chaos as the squad prepares for a high-speed extraction from the ruined city block, each member steeling themselves for the next unknown. Down below, the chase reignites in a blur of violence. Agents leap and dash through stairwells as rival factions close in, exchanging gunshots and frenzied orders, determination and fatigue pushing bodies further than reason should allow. In another corridor, an off-duty agent, surprised by the madness, mutters gratitude for the rookie who brought some semblance of order through pure instinct, even as the world outside the door seems intent on pressing in with endless shocks. The rookie, breathing hard, forces a trembling smile and thinks, that's the look Noah used to wear when she was pissed off, realizing too late that nowhere is truly safe, not in these corridors, not in her own head. At street level, a desperate sprint is underway. Shadowed figures push themselves to physical and emotional breaking points, urging each other to run faster before the last fragile hope for escape vanishes. A lone agent doubles back, torn between guilt and loyalty, and wonders if leaving the team's safety behind to check the rooftops of neighboring buildings was wisdom or insanity, the city's dangers pressing in from all sides. As doors creak and slam, survivors regroup and turn for help, bandaging wounds and making tentative plans, all the while aware that only luck and a few last ounces of grit brought them through the worst of the fight alive. Through it all, the sense lingers that even among these temporary victories, the cost of survival is etched in every scar, and everyone's eyes reflect the question, will there ever be a safe place again, or is this endless running their only future? With a practiced motion, a masked agent urges his team to follow quickly through the maze of city streets, insisting he knows a shortcut, even as his own voice betrays the mounting anxiety felt by all sides in this relentless pursuit. From the heights of a burning office tower, figures leap out into the void, their bodies silhouetted against cascading debris as the building groans and begins to collapse, a stark reminder that this mission was always a gamble with mortality. Within the storm of falling glass, a monstrous figure lands amidst the panicked squad, sending them scattering as its inhuman power shatters any illusion of safety. The desperate shouts of "This guy's nuts!" lost in the chaos. Meanwhile, on a neighboring rooftop, an agent goes blade to blade with a winged enemy, sparks flying as each slashing attack is parried at the very edge of the building where one misstep spells certain death. A sudden kick spins out, launching the adversary backward, Akashi's breath ragged as he shouts to his partner to dodge, their only hope resting on instinct and the unyielding urge to survive. In a flash of supernatural energy, a great blade is unleashed, scything through the night with enough force to cleave fire escapes and steel, its light painting both allies and enemies alike with fear and awe. Below, the impact sends shockwaves through the city. Fighters tumble and crash, the world reduced for a moment to a vortex of violence and the stubborn will to keep getting back up. Somewhere in the chaos, a wounded comrade groans amid the rubble, the word "woe," his only offering to the madness, as the fallen regroup in the shadows cast by the shattered skyline. The team's resolve is tested anew as a masked adversary challenges Akashi, declaring coldly that he's not human in more ways than one, forcing a reckoning between vengeance and the limits of one's humanity. Elsewhere, a lone figure stands before a tribunal, accusations hanging heavy in the air and the question, "What do you think you're doing?" demanding an answer that no one any longer dares to speak aloud. Back on street level, Akashi's crew stares at the sky, unsure if their quarry is angel or demon, trying to mask the realization that whatever side they stand on, they are now witness to something world-shaking. As night falls, the brutal truth remains. In this fragile moment between pursuit and fate, each survivor must choose whether to keep running toward danger or face themselves in the cold clarity of the city's unforgiving light. Bathed in the infernal glare of crackling flames and looming shadows, a girl perches atop a brooding man's shoulders, her unnerving smile and bright aura casting stark contrast against the wreckage behind them as masked figures watch in disbelief from above.
A swirling rush of wind and a desperate cry fills the air as the girl lunges forward, shielding her companion with her body and deflecting the oncoming threat with a forceful block. A moment later, the tension crackles as she stares down her masked opponent, one hurling insults while the other issues a grim warning, both refusing to back down as bystanders watch with bated breath. In the open, shouts echo and weapons are drawn. Amid chaos, the girl is taunted for her funny strength, but she simply glares back, unshaken and resolute under the pressure. Suddenly, a new voice takes command. He proclaims, "She's mine," brushing aside objections and loading the burden of action onto his own shoulders as the others nervously comply. The scene shifts to cold indifference as a pair of feet walk away from flames, dismissing the surrounding mayhem and skipping over the small talk like nothing at all mattered. In a split second, the girl closes the distance, her foot slicing through the air. As her speed increases, the world seems to blur and everyone's focus narrows to her single, explosive motion. Eyes wide, she faces off with a monstrous angel, the two locked in an unspoken test of strength as they circle each other warily. With a surge of power, the angel strikes, a metallic limb whirls at terrifying velocity, but she leaps and twists away, every movement betraying both fear and determination. Just as the attack nears, she flips and counters with her body, forcing her adversary to recoil. Sparks and scrap fly as flesh and machine narrowly avoid disaster. In the final, harrowing panel, her body arcs overhead as she lands amid ruined ground, a single word, trash, delivered with biting finality as the chaos around her refuses to fade, and the fight for survival shows no sign of ending.